Welcome back to Analytical Media. We are a consortium, a group of therapists, college professors, and well-published peer-reviewed authors. We're here to answer your questions and to dig deeper into psychology, philosophy, the meaning of life, all these psychological and philosophical questions. Today's question is, what is love? And it seems like a simple question, and it seems like one we instinctively understand, but it's not one that is understood much at all. It's alluded to, hinted at, assumed, but rarely understood. But it has been well studied by famous people, famous philosophers, psychologists, psychoanalysts, psychiatrists, going back thousands of years. Now we know that love is essential because it's part of Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you're not familiar with this, his hierarchy of needs, that's Abraham Maslow, is used in nursing, it's used in education, it's used in almost every discipline that deals with people. His hierarchy of needs say there are certain things that people need in life, and they can't function without, and they can't be healthy without. You can't be a healthy human being. You cannot be mentally sane or mentally normal if we're assuming that normal means in 68% of the population, the plus or minus one standard deviation from the mean normal, which is the traditional use of the word normal. You can't be normal unless you have satisfied those stages of existence according to Abraham Maslow. Now we can get into those much more deeply and look at them as much as you want. But today's question is about love. And I am saying to you that the Bible mentions love, and we'll talk about that in a second. Maslow says love is essential for you to be a healthy, normal, functioning, not mentally ill individual. So we know it's important from modern day psychology. And as I said, Maslow's no small theorist. His hierarchy of needs, the same one I'm quoting here, has been used in medicine, nursing, education at all levels, as well as a therapy, as a mental health treatment, a treatment for mental illness, a type of therapy. Now back to the Bible. The Bible says when somewhere in the Bible the question is asked, what is God? And the explanation given is, God is love. Now, this is the same basic theme in virtually every other mainstream religious book, document, doctrine. And how important is love to you? And that great importance says that love is kind of the basis of existence. What would you do for someone you love? What would you do to protect someone you love? Would you actually die for them? Would you take a bullet for them? Would a mother sacrifice her own body for her child? Would a husband sacrifice his body for his wife, his loved one, his child, his daughter, his friend? Even in friendship, we know there are people who die for other people, die trying to protect other people, even in friendship. But unless you think the Bible's wrong, which is a pretty important book in the Western culture, in the Western world for the last 2,000 years, the Bible's emphatic about love and the importance of love, going so far as to say, God is love. Now, you don't have to believe in God, and you don't have to believe in a Christian God and the Christian Bible. But the one thing you do have to do is recognize respect. Recognize that Bible as a document that should be respected. Why? Because hundreds of millions of people believe in it and have believed in it. Should show respect for anything of that nature. Whether you believe it or not, you should respect the fact other people do and have for a very long time. If you think 2,000 years is a very long time, and it is a very long time. Let's look at the Bible for a minute. And if this is too religious for you, check back with us some other time. We are not purporting, proposing, suggesting, promoting anything about religion. We're simply saying most of America, most of the world, respects the Bible and respects the Christian faith, even if they aren't Christian. Hindus, Buddhists, Jews, you still respect the faith. You don't have to believe it, but you should respect it. And we're going to look at this as there's a book, whether it's religious or not, a book that says these things about love that have this same book that's been read for 2,000 years, the same book that's the leading seller in the world, in the Western world, to this very day, that same book. We're going to try to gather a little wisdom from that book, and we'll start at Romans 12:9. Love must be sincere. Hate what is evil. Cling to what is good. Now, one must look into good and evil, and it's not easy to do. Not easy to find a working definition for good and a working definition for evil. We'll talk about it later. But let's look at the first part of that. Love must be sincere. So it must not be faked. Your love must be real, coming deep from your heart. Now, let's look at John 4:8. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. So there's something special about love, something associated with divinity to goodness. Now here's what Plato said 380 years before Christ. Love is the joy of the good. And once again, you can see love and goodness being associated, evil being the opposite of good. He says love is the wonder of the wise. Think about that. Plato, someone who's been dead for more than 2,000 years, someone who you studied in college, you heard about in high school, you might have read in high school, you might have read since. Your kids are still reading Plato if they're being educated well. I mean, think about that. A man whose words had such wisdom within them, were so important, carried so much insight, were so valuable that they still are being printed today, still being read today. Most men are long gone. Most human beings long gone. Only a few have survived. Their memory, their words have survived for thousands of years. Very few, just a few. And Plato says, the wonder of the wise, that love itself is a wonder, an amazement, a curiosity, a great mystery. And you may have felt that love from your mother, from your father, from another man, from another woman, from a child, from a puppy, or from God. And though some people out there won't believe in God and don't believe in God, and that's all right, some people out there have felt the love of God, and that's all they need. It fortifies them. It validates them. And Plato says that Love is the amazement of the gods. The gods, the highest thing that Plato knew of, the highest sentient beings, the gods. Gods are amazed by love. So we certainly don't take it for granted. And it has been well studied. Here we have Victor Hugo, who says in 1862, "To love another person is to see the face of God." Once again, love being raised to the level of divinity. William Blake, in Songs of Innocence, published in 1789, says, "Love seeketh not itself to please. Love seeketh not itself to please, nor for itself hath any care." And what that's saying is, William Blake is saying that love is not trying to make itself happy. When you love someone, you're trying to make them happy. And you do not care for yourself when you love something or someone. You care for the thing you love. Love seeketh not itself to please, nor for itself hath any care. And it's a strange thing. It goes against, certainly this is directly the opposite of a psychopath and what a psychopath feels. Edna St. Vincent Millay, in 1921, wrote, "Love is not all. It is not meat nor drink. Love is not all. It is not meat nor drink." And what she's saying here is, after you have food and water, after you eat and drink, everything else is love. To survive, you need food and water. Everything else is love. Everything else you need to survive is love. Very hard thing to quantify, and no philosopher or psychologist has done anything that's satisfactory to this point. Charlotte Bronte, who wrote Jane Eyre in 1847, wrote, "I would rather be loved than have money or power. I would rather be loved than have money or power." So love isn't money, and love isn't power. And she's saying, given a choice of having money, of being rich, or having great power, power to do this or power to do that, power to control people, power to build a house, power of any kind, she says, I give those all up for. I would prefer to be loved. Again, love greater than money or power. And here's a great, great quote from Alfred Lord Tennyson, written in 1850. And he wrote, "'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. 'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all." We know how much pain we are in when we lose someone we love, whether through death or because of a breakup. And the pain can be excruciating. It can be enough to cause people to end their existence or to suffer for decades. But he says, I agree completely, "'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all." And when doing grief counseling, working with someone who's lost someone they really love, and as I said, it could be through divorce as well as death. Many times I will say, if I could hypnotize you and have you completely forget your wife or completely forget your father, and since you've completely forgotten them, you would not feel any loss. You don't feel a loss for something you don't know or for someone you never knew. And when I tell them that, they get an expression or a look as if showing a crucifix to a vampire. It's like, are you crazy? Absolutely not. I'm dying here, but I still have my love for my Father. I still feel His love for me. And though I'm suffering greatly, terribly, horribly, I would never choose otherwise. No, do not take away my memory of my Father. So it's one thing to read a quote written in 1850. 'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Something that you still hear today, by the way. To read it is one thing. To see it on the face of your client in counseling, that's another thing. Not even the loved one through a divorce. Never, it's unthinkable for a dead child. But how very true. 'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Do you agree with that? You can write it in the comments. Hermann Hesse wrote in 1922, Hermann Hesse, Hesse, love can be begged, bought, or received as a gift, but one cannot take it. And that is an interesting point. You cannot force someone to love you. Love always must be given. It cannot be forced. You cannot take it. It has to be given in some form. Now, we've talked basically about love of God or love between individuals. But here's a quote from George Bernard Shaw. He wrote in 1903, quote, "The true artist will let his wife starve before he lets his art. The true artist will let his wife starve before he lets his art starve." Now that's love for one's art, which is more than one's work. And I think any artist that hears these words knows what I'm talking about. There's something beyond the painting, the drawing, the poetry, the whatever, the art that is greater than life itself, greater than any work. You know, your art, you've heard art described as a passion, a devotion to art. And remember, Bernard Shaw says, the true artist, he didn't say the artist, he said the true artist. And we sort of know that about artists, the true artists, if you will, who give up everything for their art. They don't have any money. They have no security in life. Sometimes they literally starve. You've heard of the starving artist, which was true in the Middle Ages, certainly. A passion. And you hear love and passion associated quite commonly. The words love and passion. Maybe we'll end on this quote. Leo Tolstoy, in the novel Anna Karenina, 1877. Very insightful, and I hope you'll appreciate it. All happy families are alike. Each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. And what he's really saying here is that you can go wrong lots of ways, but there's only one right way to happiness. All happy families are alike, but each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. Many ways to go wrong, but only one right way to happiness. Okay, I don't want to make this too long, but we can talk about this much more, and we will. To whatever degree you desire. Let us know. We are Analytical Media, and we are here to hopefully make things a little better. So, I'll see you next time we publish.